Hi, friends. It's Will, and I'm here with a tarot reading. We are going to ask, what are their most recent thoughts about you? That's the question for today. We're thinking about someone you're in a no contact situation with, like an ex, and we are going to figure out what have they been thinking about you recently, lately. I've got 3 decks here, Trinity Tarot. That's what we're going to use for the main reading. I've got Tarot of the Abyss. We're going to use that to help you select which of the readings is for you. And I've got the Rainbow Brainskull Oracle, and we're going to use that as a focus message at the end of each reading. So now that I've got some smoke on those, let me set aside everything except for the Tarot of the Abyss. I've chosen 3 stones. Pile 1 is going to be Selenite, 2 is the Ocean Jasper, and 3 is the Tourmaline. I've shuffled the Tarot of the Abyss, but let's shuffle it a little bit more. And we're going to pull 3 cards to describe this person. And the first card is going to explain how they see themselves. The second card will explain what they don't see about themselves. And the third card will explain how other people see them. So ask yourself as I pull these cards whether this describes your person or not. And if the first one doesn't, hopefully the second one will. And if the second one doesn't, hopefully the third one will. We'll see what we can do here. All right, so for pile 1, this is how they see themselves. This is what they don't see. This is how others see them, and this will all be with the selenite. Okay, Ace of Swords. This is how they see themselves. So they see themselves as someone with a sharp mind. They see themselves as somebody who can be victorious, right? Go off, like grab the sword from the stone and do the thing, whatever the thing might be in any situation. They can have victory over it, and they can use their mind in order to have that victory. But what they don't see is King of Wands. They maybe don't see that they are rather bold, maybe even outrageously so, and they need attention, right? The King of Wands needs other people to recognize that they are the King of Wands and to tell them that they are the King of Wands. They need some attention from other people. And your person doesn't totally recognize how much of that they need. Other people see them instead as the Page of Pentacles. So this is someone who's like down to earth and open to trying new things, but is maybe kind of clumsy, kind of bumbling about, not as skilled as they think that they necessarily are. Someone who maybe likes to be in nature, likes to be outdoors, that kind of thing we would expect from a Page of Pentacles. Someone who is maybe kind of hesitant, doesn't totally know what they're doing, but is open to learning and open to trying new things. We would expect that from a page as well. So if you think that this describes your person, I'd like you to go to reading 1. You'll find the timestamps below, and I will see you there. And if this is not your person, then let's pull cards for number 2, which will be the Ocean Jasper. All right, here we go. First card is how they see themselves. Second card is what they can't see. Third card is how others see them. They see themselves as Three of Wands, meaning they might be the kind of person who says, I've done the work and now I'm just waiting for it to happen. Right? They might be the kind of person who's sort of like, I planned things out, I started a project, and now I've put in some effort, and I'm just waiting to see any day now, any day my ship's going to come in, right? They're sort of waiting to see what the response is going to be to what they've done. What they don't see is the Six of Swords. They don't see their emotional baggage. This person has emotional baggage. They think they've moved on from something, but they really haven't completely moved on. Something in the past has happened, and they think they're over it. They are not over it, and they don't know that they're not over it, right? Other people see them as a Six of Wands. So other people see them as someone who needs public recognition, someone who needs other people to follow them, maybe literally or more like on social media. Could be that too. Six of Wands needs to be up on the stage performing with other people, applauding and saying, you're so great. We want to follow your career. We think you're going to be successful. You're victorious. You're wonderful. Let's all get in line behind you, right? So someone who needs to be publicly acknowledged for their successes, which doesn't mean they don't have successes. They may, but it's, if they do something good, they want other people to publicly notice them for that. Okay. So if this describes your person, I'd like you to go to number 2, the timestamps below. And if you want to see the third one, let's do that. This will go with the Tourmaline. I just want to give this a shuffle so we know we're getting the third person. And we've got someone's, some group's person. How they see themselves, what they don't see, and how others see them. They see themselves as the King of Pentacles. They see themselves as someone with lots of resources. Maybe they're very generous with their money. Could also be that they're stingy with their money. But and if it's not money, it could be time or energy, right? But there's a way in which whatever it is they have a bunch of, they value it extremely highly. They probably are somebody who likes to be very comfortable, who might overindulge in the sensual pleasures of life. Food, drink, staying at home on the couch watching Netflix, that kind of thing, right? This can be someone who's lazy because they have or believe they have worked really hard to get where they are, and now they want to enjoy it, right? What this person doesn't see is Five of Wands. They are competitive and they don't know it. That can be pretty annoying. They're competitive or even combative. They like to engage sometimes in some unnecessary conflict, and they are not aware of how much that influences their behavior. Others see them as the Fool, so maybe kind of naive, someone who doesn't pay attention to or seem to even care about some of the possible risks that they might be taking in life, but also someone who, in a kind of charming way, might be open and ready to go off on new adventures, even if other people are looking at them like, are you crazy? You're really going to do that? Are you sure it's a good idea? And they just sort of jump forward and say, of course. Why wouldn't I do it? Right? So if this describes your person, then you should go to reading number 3, timestamps are below. That's with the Tourmaline. Feel free to rewind if you want to go back and rewatch to figure out which of these best describes your person. And I'll leave it there, and I will see you in your reading. See you there. Hello, Group 1. Welcome to your reading. You chose the Selenite, and the 3 cards to describe your person, your ex, were the Ace of Swords, sharp mind, right? Victorious, or thinks they can be victorious, but also maybe kind of open to conflict. King of Wands needs attention. Has some power, or is unaware of some of the power they have. They might be kind of bold or charismatic and not totally aware of that fact. And Page of Pentacles, maybe not so graceful as they think. Other folks see them as someone who's open to trying new things, but not necessarily super skilled at it. Also, someone who might be really into the outdoors or nature, that kind of thing. Doesn't mind getting their hands dirty. We're going to lay out 9 cards here using the Trinity Tarot, and we're going to ask the question and answer the question. What are their most recent thoughts about you? And so we'll do a 9-card box or portrait spread to answer that question. And once we've done that, we'll pull an oracle card to give you a focus message to take away with you today. So, what are their most recent thoughts about you? That is our question. What are their most recent thoughts about you? Okay, I'll lay the cards down face down, and then we'll go through and flip them. Once we've flipped them, we will read them in a series of combinations. We'll start with the center card. We'll read the corners for context. We'll read the columns to establish a timeline, and we'll read the rows for more information. Okay, let's see what we are looking at today. 3 of Pentacles, working together, a small quantity of something valuable. 5 of Pentacles, destabilizing material resources, maybe some money trouble. The Hanged One, sacrifice, punishment, hanging out, stagnant, renunciation. 8 of Swords, defensive, stuck in the mud, unable to move forward. Keeper of Cups, maybe with a secret. That is very interesting to see in the middle. Keeper of Cups. This would be the Queen of Cups in other decks. But we read court cards, of course, with no recourse to gender here. Champion of Wands. This would be the Knight of Wands in other decks. So we've got 2 court cards here, and they're fire and water. 2 of Pentacles. More Pentacles coming up. This is juggling. This is trying to find balance or making a choice. Let's see. Justice, taking responsibility for oneself. Every action has a consequence. And the Champion of Swords. This would be the Knight of Swords in another deck. We've got 3 court cards then to deal with here, and we will figure out how we're going to work those together. I do think the Keeper of Cups represents your ex because it's appearing at the center of the spread, and they are the focus of the spread, and so that would make sense. So the Champion of Wands and Swords may represent different aspects of your personality. They could theoretically represent 2 different people, and I suppose with each of your particular situations that there could be different answers to that, because there's not just one person watching this video. So we have to read in a very open way with these videos. So let's start, I suppose, with this center card, the Keeper of Cups, who represents your person, when we pulled the three cards from the Tarot of the Abyss, we got Ace of Swords, King of Wands, and Page of Pentacles. And so two of the cards we got were court cards, and then a third court card is coming up here. And so what that's telling me is that this person has a lot of different facets to their personality. They might be the kind of person, which to some extent, I think this is true of everybody, right? That in different situations, we are different people, or we show different sides of our personality to people depending on the context that we're in. So I think that's true to some extent with all of us. But the reading today so far is really emphasizing that that might be a little bit more true with this person than with others. And so with the Keeper of Cups, I think of someone who is empathic, someone who can feel other people's feelings, other people's emotions, are very kind of intuitive. But also I think of someone who might have like a secret that they're keeping. There's something that they feel or know, and they're not saying it out loud, right? If you look at the way this cup has a lid, and in other versions of this card, the big ornate developed cup that the figure holds has a lid on it, suggesting you may not be able to see what's inside of this person's metaphorical cup, representing their feelings, their emotions. They're unconscious too. So this could be a situation where there is some unconscious secret that maybe the person themselves doesn't even totally know or isn't completely aware of, even though it is directing and influencing their behavior, right? So this is someone who I would think is maybe kind of secretive. It would be really hard to get to know the real version of this person because they're showing lots of different things at different times, and you maybe have trouble sort of nailing down who they really are, right? So let's go into reading the corners, which will help us establish a theme and develop it a little. And we'll start with the top left with the Three of Pentacles, and then we'll go around in a clockwise direction. So Three of Pentacles would indicate someone who is working with others to try to do something. So if your person works, then I would think they are indeed doing that. But I suspect, based on the next card that comes up and some of the other Pentacles cards, that they're having money troubles. If it's not money, it's time or energy, but there's some resource of theirs that they don't have enough of, right? And so they're trying to build something good in their life. They're trying to improve their well-being. But like if we were to see, for example, the Four of Pentacles, then we would know they've achieved some stability. Or even if we saw like, oh, I don't know, the 8 or the 9 or the 10 of Pentacles, that would suggest like that they're in a really good material, financial, well-being kind of place. The 3, the 5, and the 2 of Pentacles don't suggest that so much. So I would suggest that this person is spending a fair amount of their time working, and we'll say more about that later. So the Hanged One suggests someone who feels stuck. They're hanging upside down. Maybe they feel like they're being punished for something. Maybe they feel like they've had to make some big sacrifice in their life. I always think of renunciation, like giving something up with this card. So maybe they feel like they've had to give you up, and maybe they don't think it's fair for some reason, or they're being punished, or it was a big, difficult sacrifice that they've had to make. And it is causing them to stagnate and they're not moving forward. There's no movement that happens with this card, right? And that would be reinforced when we get to it with the Eight of Swords. There's a lack of movement, a lack of progress happening here. So let's jump down then to the Champion of Swords in the lower right-hand corner. This is another court card. It's a knight, so it represents someone who is moving forward. Both of these knights, the champion of wands and swords, they are making progress. They are doing something with their life. And with the champion of swords, it's someone who is moving towards something they believe in, right? Something that they know about, that is intellectually stimulating to them. They are very interested in making progress towards achieving something that is meaningful, that they want to fight for, right? And so I wonder if this might be you, and I suspect that it is you because, or at least one aspect or part of yourself, because it's appearing in one of the corners, which is an important position for the spread. So we will come back to that, and I'm just having some thoughts about what to do with that champion of wands, but we'll get there in a moment. Let's finish off the corners with the two of pentacles. This would suggest juggling, and here we're back to like trying to make ends meet, not having enough money, working hard, trying to play hard, but like trying to keep all the balls in the air at once, and maybe feeling like some people can enjoy this. Some people can enjoy the like work hard, play hard. Others, I think, can find it really tiring and taxing, and maybe can do it for a while, but it gets old, I think, for some. There's also a fair amount here of kind of turbulence suggested. If you look at the water on this deck, I suppose it's not too turbulent, but on other versions of this card, the waves are very up and down, sort of undulating. And so I always think with this card of like the waters are not calm. There's a lot of up and down sort of turbulence, that kind of stuff going on as this person is trying to juggle the material realities of their actual existence, right? So we've got with these first 5 cards a picture of basically what's happening here. And so let me summarize it by saying that I think whether through necessity or just because they're trying to distract themselves, I think that this person is putting a lot of time into focusing on their like everyday material necessities, right? Just like making enough money to get through the day, trying to improve their well-being as much as they can. But it's really a focus not on what is meaningful to them, not what they're passionate about. It's not about their emotions. It's not about what they believe in. Right now, they are really focusing on just getting through each day, focusing on work, paying bills, that kind of stuff, which sounds boring, right? And maybe is intentionally so, if indeed they are trying to distract themselves from whatever secret it is that they're hiding in this cup, right? They likely are feeling stuck, as I've said a couple times, and the cause or the reason behind that, when I read the tarot, I think of the major arcana, like the Hanged One, as causes, and they make things happen. And what do they make happen? They make the minor arcana happen. So why is there so much focus on these cards? Well, because of the Hanged One, meaning because they feel like they've had to give something up. Presumably that would be you, represented by the Champion of Swords. And maybe because they feel like maybe they think they're being punished by someone, or they have been, or maybe it's that they're punishing themselves. That is a possibility too here with that card. Okay, now that we've had a chance to look at the center card in the corners, we're going to read the columns. We're going to read those. Left column is past, middle is present, right column is going to represent the future, and this will tell us a little story about what happened, what's happening, what's going to happen. So on the left, we've got they're working, their 3 of Pentacles, trying to work with other people to produce a little bit of something good. but simultaneously feeling stuck, like they're not moving forward. It's like they're just trying to get um, like hand to mouth, like just get enough to get through the day. With the Eight of Swords, we would think too of like being stuck in their mind, being stuck in their head. They have the ability to free themselves from their current circumstance, but they can't see it. That's what this card tells us. There's a way out. They can think their way out. They can find a way to get out of their current situation, but they have sort of either deliberately blinded themselves to seeing it, or someone has pulled the wool over their eyes, so to speak, and they're trying to ignore the fact that they've got a blindfold on, right? With the Two of Pentacles, I would go back again to this idea that they don't have enough of the resource that they need to thrive. From 3 to 2, that's a decrease. Both of these are small cards. They're working with others and they're juggling what they've got, but they just don't have enough. So I would suggest that this person, in terms of answering the question, which was, what are they thinking about you? They're probably thinking like, my life would be a lot better if I had that other person in it. Like, I would suspect that the only social interaction they're getting is at work, right? With Three of Pentacles, they're collaborating with people at work, and so they are being around other people in that way. But outside of that, they might be feeling kind of lonely, and they're putting a lot of their energy into just keeping still, sort of. And of course, everything I just said applies to the past. So where are they in the present? Well, they've had a disruption to their finances or material reality. Like their juggling failed. They dropped the ball. They collaborated with others to produce good stuff for themselves, but the Five of Pentacles here is going to indicate that they feel like they don't have enough. There is a displacement, a disruption of their well-being, material well-being, and they feel sort of like out in the cold. They are trying to find sanctuary, right? We find this church in the back, and so this person is feeling like rejected from society, rejected from other people, and they want to be in a situation where they can feel embraced again by others. But I think I would hope they are starting to recognize the fact that there's something they've kept hidden from other people, a secret or a part of themselves or some truth that has not been allowed to sort of come out of the cup, right? And that they need to take responsibility for that. That is where justice comes in. This is what's happening right now, is they're weighing and trying to make a decision, but justice is very slow. They're not going to come to the right decision quickly. We have to wait, and they are thinking very hard. Justice is about using your head to come to that decision. And so they're thinking very hard about cause and effect. What have they done in the past that is putting them in their current situation now? And how can they take responsibility for that? Are they strong enough to take responsibility for that in the present in order to impact the future? With the third column over on the right, we've got our Hanged One, our feeling of stagnation and maybe punishing oneself, or maybe feeling punished by others, or both, because of having to give something up, feeling like something's been taken from them, or they've like that others are persecuting them in some way. And then we've got these two court cards. And so earlier I read the Champion of Swords in terms of you. It is possible, I'm going to give you two readings for these court cards. It is possible on the one hand that you are represented by both of these cards, the Champion of Wands and the Champion of Swords. And these are different aspects of your personality or different ways that the Keeper of Cups, your ex, sees you. And so I'd like to suggest that maybe they think you're a Champion of Wands when you're actually more of a Champion of Swords, right? And so what this would mean is wands and cups are contradictory suits, right? Wands are fire, cups are water, and so they go against one another, right? And so I would think here that your ex is thinking of you in a way that is different from who you really are. And they're sort of thinking that there's a contradiction between you that maybe doesn't totally exist. The other way, like they're not seeing you clearly, or they are making up a story about you that isn't true in order to justify the fact that you're no longer together, right? Does that make sense? The other way of reading this would be reading them as different people, right? And so if you are the Champion of Swords, that means there's another person here. There's a Champion of Wands here. And so if this is a different person who is entering into their life, in that case, it really would be someone who they're not going to get along with, right? Whether they think they will or not. This is a Wands person. They're represented here as a Cups person. They're gonna clash, right? If you add water and fire together, you just get steam, right? It's just going to all turn into smoke. So if that's somebody else, I wouldn't expect that to work out very well for them. Let's read now the rows. And so we'll start with the top row. This is what they're thinking. The middle row is what they're doing, what's staring them in the face. And the bottom row is what they're not totally aware of. The bottom row is what the foundation of the situation is, sort of the root causes of everything that's going on here. So what are they thinking about? Work, how they don't have enough of what they need, and how they feel punished and like they've sacrificed stuff and they're stagnant. We've pretty much already covered that. I don't know that I have much to add other than to reinforce that this is really what's on their mind, right? Especially the Hanged One. They're all they can think about is the fact that their life seems to be upside down right now. But what are they doing? What's actually happening with them? Well, they're defensive, maybe because they know they've done something wrong and there is a way out, but they maybe are distracting themselves by thinking about all these coins they're chasing. I think they're holding something back, holding something they feel back from other people. And they're either talking to whoever this Champion of Wands is, who is not going to mix very well with them, or they have a false projection of you being the Champion of Wands. And they're projecting all their insecurities and thinking about the reason they're stuck is because of this Wands person who really isn't a Wands person at all, and sort of making up stories in their head about why things didn't work out by painting a picture of you as someone you're really not. Yeah. At the foundation of it all, what are they not really sure of? Well, I think they're not totally aware of how bad their financial situation or material situation is. Their well-being is way down here at the number 2 of Pentacles, when in their mind it's a 3 or a 5, which isn't great, but it is maybe better than a 2. So they're not totally aware of how much energy they're putting into juggling everything in their life in order to eke out some kind of semblance of well-being, right? They're also not aware of how much they need balance. And by balance, I'm talking they need to take responsibility for the role that they have played in putting themselves in the situation that they have found themselves in. I also think here, when I compare the 2 of Pentacles with the Justice card, I think about the way that both of them are about balance, right? With the Pentacles, though, it's really about material stuff, right? Money, energy, time, well-being. With justice, it's more about bigger things like, am I a good person? Am I a just person? Am I taking responsibility for myself and my actions and everything in my life? And so I think they're maybe unaware of both sides of that um, coin, so to speak, right? Finally, they're unaware of how much you, as the champion of swords here, are still present in the situation. I don't think they totally understand, because this is appearing in the bottom row. They don't totally understand how important you were to them and maybe still are. And it's not clear to them how much losing you has contributed to this situation that they currently find themselves in. Represented, I think, well, I could go over all the cards again, but stagnant, disrupted, stuck, right? That kind of thing. And maybe with a secret, perhaps, that they still feel something, but aren't ready to take responsibility for that. Not aware of that at the moment, at least. So now that we have painted a picture of where your ex is and what they're thinking about you, let's pull something just for you. We're going to use the Rainbow Brainskull Oracle. I've shuffled these, but let me give them a little shuffle here so that y'all can see. And this is a focus message for you. This is what you should be thinking about, concentrating on, focusing on today, or as soon as you finish this video. This is the message that you need to hear. Let's shuffle these just a little more. All right, let's knock on them. Here's your card. One thing at a time. Don't try to read every book on the bookshelf. Just read one thing at a time. If you are trying to work on something and it seems overwhelming, break it down into smaller pieces. Break the big project down into 10 little steps and just do one step. That's all that you have to do, okay? I hope you enjoyed the reading. Let me know in the comments what you thought, what resonated. I'd love to hear it. Consider liking and subscribing if you want to help me grow the channel. Be well, take it one thing at a time, and I will see you in your next reading. Bye. Hello, Group 2, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Ocean, Jasper. We've got that here, and we've paired that up with 3 cards to describe your ex. We've got the 3 of Wands. Maybe someone who sees themselves as having done all the work already, and now they just get to wait. 6 of Swords. There's emotional baggage that they are not aware of that is driving the situation. And 6 of Wands, they need public recognition for their achievements. Otherwise, they feel like it didn't mean anything. It didn't matter. So we're going to pull some cards from the Trinity Tarot, which I've shuffled, but let me give it a little more of a shuffle here. We're going to pull 9 cards out and read them in some specific patterns to answer the question, what does this person think about you recently? What are their recent thoughts about you? Okay, let's get our cards on the table. I'll lay them out, flip them over. We'll start with the center card. We'll read the corners for context. We'll read the columns to establish a timeline, and we'll read the rows to know what they're thinking, what they're doing, what they don't see. All right. What do we have today? 10 cups. Wow. Okay. So this can be happiness. This can also be too much feeling. In some contexts, I also read it as everything looks great on the outside, but it's not real, right? It's like the person who's always posting, and it looks like they just have their picture perfect life, happy relationship, family, the whole thing, and it's not real, right? Crown of Wands. This is someone again who needs attention, right? This would be the King of Wands and other decks. Makes me think very much of the Six of Wands that came up earlier, and to some extent, maybe also the Three of Wands that came up. So there's a lot of needing social interaction to validate. 10 of Wands. Okay, well, we've got a lot of wands happening here. I also am noticing the 10 of Cups, 10 of Wands mirroring that's happening with these cards. 10 of Wands would be burning out, feeling like there's a burden, having too much to do, maybe being exhausted. 2 of Wands, another Wands card, planning, making plans, maybe not acting though. Wheel of Fortune at the center of the spread. Circumstances are changing and they have no control. 7 of Wands. Wow, I am surprised at all the wands coming up. Struggling. Feeling like they don't have, like everyone's against them, right? Instead of praising them, everyone's against them. 6 Pentacles. All right, we've got a different suit here. Generosity or asking for someone to be generous, exchanging something of value, exchanging a resource. 5 of Wands. I swear I shuffled these. You saw me do it. I did it off camera too. Lots and lots of Wands. 5 of Wands. Competition, unnecessary conflict, fighting amongst other people. Oh dear, and the Lovers have made an appearance. The last card of the spread is the Lovers. Well, 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 well. Okay, so let's start with the center card. One of 2 major arcana that are appearing in the spread. The other, of course, the Lovers. So with Wheel of Fortune, we think of something happening that nobody can control. It's fortune, it's fate, it's destiny, it's meant to be. And they can't do anything about it. It is what it is. If they were riding high on life, then they're falling down. If they were down, then they might be on their way up. But it's not necessarily because of anything they did or didn't do. It's sort of written in the stars, so to speak. It's just the way that things are for them. Other ways of thinking about this card would be sort of going around in circles or gambling, taking risks in some way, right? If we think of like a roulette wheel, that's something that always comes to mind with this card is like making a bet, and then it's total chance whether or not it's going to pay off or not. You have no control over what happens on that wheel once you spin it. But if you've put your money down, then you're either going to win or you're going to lose, and you have no control over what's going to happen next. And so that might be a good way to describe what's going on with this person right now. Whatever happens to them or doesn't happen to them sort of is out of their hands at this point. It's a kind of lacking agency kind of a thing. I will say maybe when we get later on in the reading that we can read this card in conjunction with the card to the left and the right of it. So we'll remember to do that when we get further on in the reading. Let's look now at the corners to develop a theme of how to read this and to get a little more context. So we'll start with the 10 of Cups in the top left, and then we'll read the corners clockwise. So 10 of Cups, as I said, can be all about happiness. It's often like the best card in the deck or one of the best cards in the deck. The only thing that can be a drawback with it is like this usually isn't something that can last forever. If you're in a 10 of Cups situation, you had better enjoy it because it's not going to be there forever. It's going to pass away, and we would especially think that when we've got Wheel of Fortune at the center of the spread. It's ephemeral, right? It's also possible that it's more of a fantasy that, sometimes I think no one's life is really a 10 of Cups life. Nobody ever has that kind of perfect happiness. But we could think here of a situation where whether they've got it or not, there was, and I say was because it's on the left side, and so maybe more in the past, there was a feeling of being very, very happy. Whether it was 100% real or not is another question, but it was there. Which brings us to the 10 of Wands. All of those cups are not cups anymore. They didn't last. Now they're wands. And so this is about stress. This is about tasks that need to be accomplished. This is about burdens. Each of those wands needs to be carried somewhere and something needs to be done with it. It's not just something you can enjoy like you can with the cups and they fulfill you and you're nourished and you're happy. With the wands, it's like, nope, you've got to build something with these. You've got to carry these somewhere. You have to do something. And so instead of enjoying their cups, the cups have turned into wands. And so they're probably in a situation where they're remembering how great things used to be and experiencing more like how stressful things are right now. And this has something to do with a relationship. And we know that because the lovers are here in the corner. And so I would think that, with the 10 of Cups, we think of people being in a relationship together and very happy. With the 10 of Wands, we generally think of someone who's alone, right? And so I would submit to you that the cause of the transition from 10 Cups to 10 Wands is the relationship. And given the context of the question where we're thinking about like an ex, it's the breakup of that relationship, right? The relationship that's no longer in existence or isn't working or whatever the specific case might be for your situation. So their cups have spilled and turned into wands. Why? Because of the relationship. Which brings us to the 6 of Pentacles. And so here we think of someone who is either weighing out how much they want to give of themselves to someone else, how much they want to invest in someone else, or sometimes it's the other way where someone else is trying to decide how much they want to invest in or give of their well-being, of themselves, of their resources to that other person. But there's kind of a negotiation, an internal negotiation that happens here. I would almost liken it to like if you're at a restaurant and the waiter brings the bill and it's time to decide how much to tip. It's that kind of thing, right? Where you're like, well, the service is really good, but they brought me the wrong drink and I had to ask for a fork. So should I tip a little bit less? It's that kind of internal negotiating that comes to mind with 6 of Pentacles, where like this person is plotting and planning and scheming and trying to weigh, like, should I tell this person how much I appreciated that thing they did for me, or should I not tell them because then they'll expect me to do something for them, right? I think of that kind of balance, internal sort of scheming, that kind of thing happening. And so, I might think here about if the relationship's ended and the cups are gone away and now it's all turned into stress, that maybe there is something at the root of this in which this person is like trying to figure out if there's a way they could save it, if there's a way that they could give something of themselves just enough, not too much. They don't want to give too much, but if they could give just enough to like get you back, or just enough to make things right again without over investing or being overly sort of generous with their interest, time, energy, money, all of that kind of stuff, right? All right, so now we've got a context for the reading. Let's read the columns to develop a timeline. We'll start with the left. This is the past, middle is the present, and the right is going to give us future. So what happened in the past? 10 cups, happiness, family, being together, seemingly happy, if not actually happy, but maybe actually happy too. I don't know your circumstance. You tell me. Two of Wands, planning for the future. Maybe the two of you were making plans for the future together, but not necessarily acting on them. The thing about the Two of Wands is it's like you're in your comfort zone and you're thinking about leaving your comfort zone, but you're not leaving your comfort zone. Other cards in this spread would need to indicate actually stepping out and going and doing something. That globe that we see on the Two of Wands is representing like you want to go out into the world, you want to see the world, you want to do stuff, but you're not doing it yet. You're staying at home, metaphorically or actually, right? And with Six of Pentacles, we've got this sense of generosity, but a carefully calculated generosity. And so I would especially, I think, with the Six of Pentacles, I suspect that that is maybe where the crack in the facade of the Ten of Cups might come along. It could also be if the Two of Wands is indicating that it was lots of planning and saying all the things that were going to happen, but then they just never happened. That could also be one of the problems that that showed up, that sort of turned this Ten of Cups situation upside down. So that's in the past. I hope that helps to describe some issues from the past. But let's talk now about the present. Where are they? What are they thinking of you in this moment? They want your attention, your recognition, your acknowledgement. That would be Crown of Wands. The King or the Crown of Wands needs other people to recognize that they have that status, right? And if nobody does that, then they they feel like they don't have that status, and that would bother them. This is a social person. This is someone who wants to be around others, needs interactions with other people in order to feel like themselves, right? And so if they're not getting that, they might feel a sense of competition. With our Five of Wands here, we could think of like, like, I don't know, if they see that you're posting something on social media, then they might want to post something where it looks like they did it even better, right? Or something they did was even cooler than the thing that you did, right? To go back to this idea of public recognition that they need with Six of Wands. So there might be some of that happening, some feeling of competing that maybe could turn away from just a friendly competition and into more of like combativeness, depending on your individual situation. And with the Wheel of Fortune in the middle here at the moment, I would think also again of going around in circles, or gambling, like trying to see, what if I did this? Would that pay off? What if I did that? Would it pay off instead? But not actually doing something that they can look back and say, I did that. That wasn't chance. That wasn't an accident. That was really me who did it, right? I feel like, well, again, we'll get back to this in a moment, but I feel like there's something to be said between the Two of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune here. So in the future, what is likely coming up for them? A whole lot of wands, right? Burdens, burnout with the 10 of Wands. With the 7, we've got struggle. We've got this one wand way up at the top. You can imagine your ex holding that, and then all these other six wands are other people or problems that are coming at them that are attacking them, that they feel like they have to beat away, that they have to bat down, and feeling alone in doing that, right? They don't have a helpmate who's there to help them tackle their problems. They have to address each one of them sort of on their own. And, we've got the lovers in the future. So this suggests one of two things: either that the impact or the influence of the relationship, which I don't think they're totally aware of because it's appearing in the bottom row, is going in the future to continue to drive their behavior. Or it could be that a relationship is in their future, right? That, like, it could be that they're getting back together with you. It could be there's someone else who comes along, although I don't see, like, there's no other court cards here. So there's not like another card to represent another person. And this isn't something that they're aware of, again, because it's appearing in the bottom row. So let's go ahead and read those rows now, because I think there are some interesting things to say about them. So the top row is what they're thinking about. The middle is what they're doing, what's staring them at the face, and the bottom row is what they're not actually aware of, even though it's greatly impacting the situation. And so in the top row, they're thinking about how great things used to be and how now everything's all stressful, and how they're the Crown of Wands, or they think they're the Crown of Wands. So they want to have control. They want to have power over their situation, especially about their social situation, their interactions with other people. And that's very important to them. And they're probably trying to figure out how they can get some of those cups back instead of just staring at this very large quantity of wands that seem to be following everywhere, all over this entire spread. We've got them in this corner, but then if you look, we've got wands, 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 wands in all of the cross positions, right? So that would be more like, instead of external context, that's like internal factors, internal context, I guess you could say, that's driving the situation. It's all wands all the time there. What is staring them in the face? Okay, I've been looking forward to reading this because Wheel of Fortune in the middle, we can think of some change of circumstance. Something's going down, something's coming up. The thing on the left is what's going down. The thing on the right is what's coming up. So their plans, Two of Wands, are disappearing. Whatever plans they've made, whether they've acted on them or not, they were up and now they're down. They're disappearing. Why? What's coming in to replace them? Seven of Wands, struggle, right? So like if they were making plans but didn't act on them, the struggle is happening because maybe they waited too long, or it could be more like they are now acting on the plans and they're really struggling to enact the plan, whatever it was, right? Whatever they were trying to do with their life. And finally, that brings us to the bottom row, where they aren't aware that so much of this is because of the relationship that you had. The bottom row is all about what they don't see, what they don't understand, influences that they're not aware of, or at least not consciously aware of. On some level, unconsciously, that it might be there. But this is what's really conscious. This is what they're doing, right? Their behavior. And this is what's driving all of that. So they don't even know how much they were calculating and strategizing their investing themselves in you. They're not totally aware of that. They were doing it, especially in the past when you were together. But if you were to tell them about that, they would not be able to recognize it in themselves, right? The way that they're like thinking, oh, I don't want to be too nice because if I'm too nice, then they're going to want something from me. That kind of thing. Or I don't want to, give them too nice a gift because if I do, then it'll seem like I care too much, right? And then I'll feel insecure or something, right? So they're not aware of that. They're not aware of how competitive they are. If someone were to tell them, "Gee, it seems like you really want to do better than the other person," they'd be like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean?" When it's obvious to other people, right, that that's what they're doing. And again, just to reinforce it, it's the ninth card. It's coming in here at the bottom of the spread, and it's sort of the final outcome, which is they are not aware of how much this relationship is, or I suppose we should say the end of this relationship has impacted or influenced how they're doing right now, right? Okay, so we've got a pretty good picture here, I think, painted of what's going on with your ex and what they're thinking about you. Let's pull a card now for you, and we'll do that with the Rainbow Brainskull Oracle. Let's pull just one card for you to think about, focus on, concentrate on as soon as you finish the reading. This is the message that you should take away with you today. Just one card for yourself to focus on. All right. Okay. You're not supposed to always be happy. Let happy sleep. So, the human experience is comprised of a wide range of emotions. And I think the quickest way to make yourself unhappy is to constantly focus on trying to be happy. I think that's kind of the message that we get from this card. You're not supposed to always be happy. Feel what you feel. Let happy sleep. Let some other feelings come out. See how you can grow. See what you can learn from that. I think that if we're really, really happy, we're probably not changing and growing, right? Because if we're really comfortable, then what what reason do we have to make any changes? So let yourself feel other things besides happiness. Let happy sleep. If you enjoyed this reading, please consider liking and subscribing to help me grow the channel. Let me know in the comments below what resonated and what you thought of the reading today. And I'll leave it there. Be well. Let happy sleep. Have a great day. And I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group 3, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Tourmaline, and we paired it with 3 cards to represent your ex. We've got King of Pentacles, who they think they are, but what they don't see is their competitiveness, maybe even combativeness. And other people think maybe they're kind of silly or foolish. Maybe they're bumbling about in life a little bit, and that's how other people see them, despite their own image of themselves as King of Pentacles who's got all the resources they need, who can be generous, who likes to enjoy life, but maybe can be a little sensually indulgent at the same time. Which I suppose is kind of true of all of us from time to time, right? I've got the Trinity Tarot here, and we're going to pull 9 cards and put them in a box spread or a portrait spread to answer the question, what is this person thinking about you recently? What are their recent thoughts about you? We'll lay out 9 cards, answer that question with a series of specific ways of reading these cards, and then we'll pull an oracle card for you to take away as a focus message today. So let's start with 9 cards to answer the question, What are their recent thoughts about you? I'll lay them down face down, and then we'll flip them over one at a time. We'll read the center card for the main idea of the reading. The corners will give context. We'll get a timeline by reading the columns, and the rows will give us some additional insight. So we have got Apprentice of Wands to start. It's a court card. This is someone who's an explorer, someone who is trying out something new, is maybe kind of hesitant, maybe doesn't totally know what they're doing. This could have to do with a career. I think of career when I think of wands, but more likely I think in this reading it could be sort of passion. We think of fire when we think of wands, and so we think of experiencing a tentative new passion. Another wands card, this time the 9, an interruption to that passion. Maybe feeling wounded, needing to take a break. The Fool again is showing up. Foolishness, naivete, not paying attention to warning signs, going off and trying something without fully thinking through it, which can be wonderful and charming, but also very dangerous. Another 9. We've got 9 pentacles here. This is about enjoying luxury. I think of the wine and the grapes, and I would bring that back to the King of Pentacles earlier. Enjoying sort of the finer things of life, really wanting to be comfortable, working hard, but also maybe getting into debt. In the center of the spread today, oh dear me. Hello, devil. The devil is in the center of the spread. And so this, because it's in the middle, is really representing this person, your ex, right? So we will come back to that in a moment. 3 of Swords, heartbreak. What does a heartbroken devil do? One asks oneself. We will find out. 10 of Pentacles under the 9 of Pentacles. So there's a lot of pentacles in the past. So far, they're not carrying through to the future. With the 10 of Pentacles, we would think of material comfort, having plenty of time, energy, and money. We would also, though, think more metaphorically about someone concerned with their values and their legacy and what they're going to leave behind to others, how other people are going to view them in posterity in the future. Keeper of Swords. This would be the Queen of Swords in other decks. And so we've got another court card here. And I suspect this represents you. What's the final card? 8 of Cups. Needing to move on, needing to organize or reorganize one's emotions, one's feelings. Okay, this is a good one. I am excited to read this. Let's start with the center card. That is, of course, the devil. So, I would think that your ex here could be someone who was not entirely truthful, maybe who was kind of manipulative. Someone, again, to go along with the King of Pentacles, the 9 of Pentacles, and 10 of Pentacles, someone who is very interested and concerned and even chained to the material world. This is someone who wants a certain kind of drink, for example, or has to have their meal in a certain kind of way or with a certain sauce, and they need their pillow to be just so that they can sleep at night, and their material world is extremely important to them. It's important to everyone, right? But for this person, it's taking it a step further. If we've got the devil in the center of the spread, as indeed we do, it's almost like potentially for this person, the material world is all there is. And that's why it's so important, because they're not concerned so much with emotional growth, for example, right? Except to the extent that emotional growth could bring them more material comfort, right? That kind of thing. And this is someone who, while they might be a whole lot of fun, the devil can be very, very fun. Like if you are bored and want to go on vacation to Vegas, bring the devil with you because you'll have a really good time. But just go for a weekend. Don't go forever. You know what I mean? Like it can be fun to get chained up for with the devil, as long as you recognize that you need to take that chain off of your neck and go back to life. Have your fun time, go crazy, go wild, and then end it, right? Then do something else. If the person here is being represented by the devil card, it suggests they don't know when to take that chain off their neck, and be free again, right? So this is a really fun one to see, sort of for me as a reader, because there's just so much to say about it. But let's look at the corners now. I'm sure we'll be coming back to that center card multiple times as we work our way through the reading. So the corners are going to give us some context, some sort of outer context for what's going on. And we'll start with the top left with the Apprentice of Wands, and then we'll read the corners in a clockwise direction. So the Apprentice of Wands, I think here is representing your ex, this person. And so Wands people are people that like excitement. They like stimulation. They like to be social generally. They like to give material gifts and receive material gifts. Generosity is a way that they sort of show and expect other people to show their love and appreciation and interest. That tends to happen with them. Because it's an Apprentice of Wands, this is someone who is young, or if not actually young, immature in some way. They're sort of at the lowest rank of the tarot court. And they have a long way to go, right? They have a lot to learn. They have a lot to experience so that they can grow, hopefully, and sort of move their way up the ranks. But right now they are immature, hesitant, uncertain. Although because they're a Wands person, they might appear very bold and courageous, and sure of themselves. But underneath that, they, on some level, consciously or not, they know that they don't really know what they're doing, right? So they're exploring life and trying to figure out what to do and where to go and what works. Okay. That matches up very much with the Fool, I think, right? Because the Fool is also kind of an apprentice or a page figure, someone, again, who doesn't really know what they're doing, who might act foolishly, who might be given a warning like, hey, if you do this, this bad thing is going to happen. There's a consequence. And they sort of ignore it and just keep going and do the thing anyways, even if someone says don't. There's a kind of naivete, like they might think, well, it won't happen to me, right? Like that'll happen to someone else, but I'll be fine. That would never happen in my particular circumstance, right? The nice thing about the Fool can be that it's someone who's ready and willing to try new things. And again, that can be very exciting and attractive. And I go back then there to the Devil card in the middle, where the Fool can be a lot of fun because they're like, hey, let's go do this crazy thing I thought of. And you might be like, okay, really? Yeah, let's do it. No one has ever suggested that. Who would think of doing this thing? And the fool is like, well, I did. Let's go try it, right? But then maybe somebody gets hurt, or it costs too much money and then you can't pay the rent, or, something goes wrong with it sometimes. And that's sort of the shadow side or the dark side of the fool that can come up. Which brings us to the Eight of Cups, and this suggests emotional movement, the need to move, like to reorganize, move around, change the positions, the structure of one's emotions or feelings, right? That there is some situation which is not totally satisfying. It is unfulfilling in some way. It might be stable, but it's lacking something. And this person is realizing, I think, or is going to realize in the future that they need to make a change. They need to make a change, and it has to do with their emotions, maybe with their spirit or their soul, if they think about themselves in that term, in those terms. And I suspect that it would involve some kind of emotional growth that brings them beyond an apprentice of wands or a fool kind of situation. They're going to realize that isn't working for them anymore, right? The Ten of Pentacles, I think, would suggest that part of what's motivating this need for them to change is that they're wondering, like, what is the world going to think about me in the future? Like, maybe when I'm gone, what do I leave behind? What are other people going to say about me when I'm not there to hear it anymore? Is it going to be something good? Are people going to be kind? Are they going to think about me and think, oh, I really miss that person because of the emotional connection I had with them, or because of their spirit, or whatever it was? Or are they going to think of me like this fun little devil who kept getting in trouble, who never listened to other people's warnings, or who never grew up from being an apprentice? And so I think that is maybe in here, which is kind of motivating what's going to happen with this person's situation, and they may not be totally aware of it yet, right? So that's the context that I would describe for this person, which will take us to reading the columns from left to right. We'll do past on the left, middle is the present, and right is more coming in to the likely future. And so there's a lot of pentacles in the past for this person, which goes along with the idea that they are very materially focused. They care about their little luxuries. They care about being comfortable in a kind of naive way, I'd say, with the apprentice and also peeking at the fool. They think, like, if I have all the right stuff, I'll be happy, right? But I think then with the Ten of Pentacles, there's this little inkling that they're realizing it's not just about my stuff, right? I need to expand my definition of what makes me happy. With the Nine of Pentacles too, we could be thinking about debt, I guess I'm not seeing any other cards in the spread that would indicate that, like a Five of Pentacles, but that is one possibility. There could have been some kind of material debt, like owing money in the past because of overindulgence to luxuries. So, I would expect that this person in the past is mostly pretty comfortable, right? Like, fairly, at least on the surface level, materially speaking, happy with themselves and comfortable. And I would hope sharing that with you. Although I guess I don't actually see a card that would necessarily indicate that, so I wouldn't want to say it with too much certainty. If we move on to what we're seeing in the present, besides the devil, the Nine of Swords is what stands out to me in the present. And so this is indicating like they've gone as far as they can in a certain direction, and they're realizing that they need to figure out what their priorities are. They can't keep going in this direction because it's hurting them, right? Uh, Nine wands is like the maximum that you could have before it's too much, which would be 10. And so, if they keep doing what they're doing and gathering these wands, they are going to burn out, and they are becoming aware of that fact, right? So the devilishness, the devilish behavior, let's say, that they've been engaging in, whatever that might be in their specific situation, is coming to a head, and they are starting to realize, oops, there's more to life than being an apprentice to the devil and foolish. And they're starting to get that something's gotta give, so to speak. Down here with the Keeper of Swords, I would see this as you. This would be the Queen of Swords in other decks. And I think it's interesting here that you are represented by a queen who is a higher in rank than an apprentice, right? As though they think of you, they see you as someone kind of above them, who's achieved more and advanced beyond their current rank. And I wonder if that sort of unconsciously is prompting them to realize that they need to make some pretty big and important changes in their life. If we move over to the right column with what's coming, the future, unfortunately, it looks like we've got more foolishness on the horizon. Now, this could be a step forward for this person, because I think if it's not just for a fun weekend in Vegas, I would rather spend more time with the fool long term than a devil. So maybe what we're seeing here is a situation where, at least in their mind consciously, they're not going to sort of totally jump ahead into being this King of Pentacles that they think they are, right? But what might happen is they could learn to grow by relinquishing some of their devilish qualities, manipulation, perhaps, lying, not, equivocating and not telling the total truth to people and making things seem different than they actually are, and being chained to material things and all of that. So they might be able to give up some of that by embarking on a kind of fool's journey, which does indicate they're way back at the beginning again, but that might be an improvement over sticking with the devil situation, right? I also see here in the future, we've got tears. Three of Swords is heartbreak, or if we're trying to be nice about it, we can say it's about learning how to use your mind to make sense of your heart, your feelings, your emotions. So that could be what's happening too, some mental growth. Growth of the mind, some learning. But we see the tears here, and we see the heart, and we're thinking about a relationship that's ended and an ex kind of situation. So, maybe some heartbreak over realizing that what they've done in the past has led them to their current situation in the present. With the Eight of Cups again, we've got this feeling, this sense that in the future, they're going to feel like it's time to move on from that. And so with these together, it's like starting off on this emotional journey that takes them, hopefully, where they're hoping to go is somewhere, to a more fulfilling situation in the future, like a more emotionally as opposed to materially fulfilling situation. Because right now they're feeling like emotionally, in terms of relationships with other people, they're kind of empty, right? They've got all these pentacles, but that's all they've got, and it's not making them happy anymore. Let's read the rows now. The top row is what they're thinking. The middle row is what they're doing, what's staring them in the face. And the bottom row is what is prompting or causing or determining the situation. So they're thinking of themselves as someone who is starting out on something new, right? Because they realize if they keep going where they're going to burn out. So that's what they are aware of. They're aware that a change needs to happen because they're wounded, because they're hurt, because they're exhausted from everything that they've been doing and the patterns that they've set up in their life. And they know that they need to set out on a new journey, take a step in a different direction, go in a new, try to go to a new place. With the second row, 9 of Pentacles, the Devil, and 3 of Swords, what they're actually doing, though, is continuing to indulge in material luxuries, right? Materiality, comforts, maybe still getting into debt, continuing their devilish behavior. It's at the middle of everything. Hasn't gone away, even though they know it needs to, right? And experiencing heartbreak, experiencing painful emotions that they're trying to wrap their mind around still. They haven't totally learned their lesson. And why? What is it that they cannot see about this? Well, they aren't totally aware of the fact that leaving behind a legacy to others matters to them. They can't totally see that. They can't see how much you and their loss of you has impacted their situation. And they can't see how much, they can't totally see, in other words, how much this has to do with their emotions, with their feelings, with their relationships. I'm thinking of the way that the only cups cards that we're seeing in the spread are down here in the right-hand corner. And they're in the bottom, indicating something that this person doesn't realize, doesn't see. They think that their actions, their wands, their actions, repeating them over and over, that's what's burning them out. They don't realize that it has to do with their emotions, right? And so that tells me, I suspect that this person is going to have trouble breaking their devilish behavior if this doesn't stare them in the face more instead of being buried down here in the bottom row. So that is what's going on with them. They aren't aware consciously of how much they're thinking about you unconsciously, right? Like you could be in their dreams, but then when they wake up, they're not remembering the dreams. That kind of thing might happen. They aren't aware of how much losing you has impacted their current situation, and they feel heartbroken, but they don't seem to totally know why. And they want to make a foolish new start in life. And they think it's because of just like taking on too many tasks. They're not aware of what the root cause, the real cause of it is down here. And they would need to do some personal work to bring that up to the surface, right? And until they do, this is, I think, probably likely to just continue their devilishness. Let's do something for you now. Let's pull a card from the Rainbow Brainskull Oracle. I'll just give these a bit of a shuffle. And this is the thing you should think about, focus on, concentrate on for yourself as you go forward in the rest of your day or evening or night or dreams or whenever you might be watching this video. So the message for you today is being out of ideas is just another idea. I love that. If you feel like you're out of ideas, what do I do now? What do I do next? That's just another idea. The next one will come and is on its way. Just give it time. If you enjoyed this reading, let me know in the comments what stood out for you, what makes sense to you, what resonated. Consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to see more of these videos and help me grow the channel. I'd appreciate it. And I'll leave it there. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you in your next reading. Bye.